Hi, I'm Jen Aly, and I'm delighted to be here to show you a workshop on decision making and risk taking for entrepreneurs. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so as an entrepreneur, your level of risk and your quality of decision making are a big deal. So this workshop is meant to support you to feel more confident in those so that you can move forward in your business. So notice it's intentional decision making and risk taking. So that's a big part of it, to consider the intention around it and to do it consciously. So why are decision making and risk taking important for your business? Because clarity and commitment lead to creation and growth. Both of these things, clarity and commitment, or actually, sorry, both risk taking and decision making can create opportunities. And without those factors, opportunities can get lost or left behind. And you can create momentum through consistent conciseness. Indecision creates stagnation. An intentional choice empowers your intention. And taking no risk is also a big risk. And even if it doesn't go the way you thought, risk may lead to reward. So if you lose, you'll learn. Okay, so Harvard Business School professor Howard Stevenson said, entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity without regard to resources currently controlled. So we are all in some form of risk at different levels of risk as entrepreneurs. And only you know what that is like for you and what your threshold is and all the things. Okay, so to start here, I'm going to ask you to consider what you know about yourself so far as a decision maker. So what do you know about how you make decisions best and what you need to make decisions? So here are some things that I know that help me or my clients or other people I know. So here's some things to consider and just be aware of these. So one is some people just have a sense of knowing what the answer is sometimes, a gut yes. Some people need to ride the waves of their emotions and their thoughts in order to make a decision. Some people really need to get the facts down and understand what, and you can have a combination of these too. There's not like one of these you have to choose. A lot of people need a lot of these or all of them. Analyzing the facts so that you know what you're choosing from the factual level. The feel of it, like what is the feel of it for you? Again, sort of connected to that gut response. Spontaneity. Some people just need to go for it when it comes to them. And if that's you, notice if it's worked or if it hasn't worked. And if it has, great. If it hasn't, then here are some different ways to do it differently. Verbal processing. So talking it out with somebody who's a certain kind of support for you, not just anybody. Support to help you go through the decision and to feel confident in it. So basically really supporting your process of making the decision, taking your time, having space with no pressure. And actually, I'll add to this, having a deadline is also a factor in making a decision. And then research. That's connected to the facts possibly too. So researching all the things you need to research. And that can also include market research as well. Asking your actual customers and clients what they want or don't want. Okay, so when you make any decision, you need all four of these things. You need opportunity. So there needs to be a possibility in front of you that you can take. A desire to move forward with that, to take that opportunity. Ability. So you need to have the skill, the capacity, the money, the resources in order to actually do it, and the time to do it. So these four things are huge. A mentor told me this probably close to 20 years ago, and I put it in my phone, and I just always refer to this. It's like, okay, are all four of these things present before I even start thinking I have a decision to make? So before making a decision, is it actually a choice you have to or need to or want to make? Are you now at a choice point? So that's something to consider. And sometimes you don't have to choose between something. So here are some examples. So one is lose weight or love yourself as you are. And this is an example I had when I was coaching someone years ago, and she's actually a coach too. And when I said you don't have to choose, you can do both, she was like, and I think a lot of times we just polarize our thoughts and we think about the black or white thinking, and we don't really see that we don't have to choose between things. So this is also an important part of the process, is seeing if you actually have to choose. Committing, another example, excuse me, of this is committing fully to your business or keep your part-time job. And you do both, and what are the pros and cons? And maybe you do, create a plan to move out of your part-time job into your business completely, but the part-time job may help you get there. So you may be choosing your business by having the part-time job. And then another one is, should I make products to create bread and butter income or create what I really want to make? This is especially an example I have in my head for like a creative person who has an art or craft-based business. And this is another point. You may eventually choose that you want to do just the stuff that you totally wanted to do yourself. And in the meantime, you might do the bread and butter, so you can do that. So just noticing that sometimes choices are not mutually exclusive. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can actually choose both and see where it leads you, or like choose both for a while and create a plan to evolve it. So here's a great quote from Castaneda, Carlos Castaneda. When you have to make a decision between two paths, actually, I'm not sure what this is from, but the book is called Beyond Fear, sorry. When you have to make a decision between two paths, choose both for a while. One will feel more right than the other. Eventually, you'll recognize this feeling at the point of choice. So this is speaking to that you might not be at the point of choice yet because you haven't done enough like experimentation or research or moving in the direction of the choice to actually, vibe it out, basically. And here's another quote that says, when you do not know what to choose, show total involvement in everything. Then life will choose, and it's never wrong. So those are both kind of about trusting the process and not getting too ahead of yourself and making a choice. Okay, so here are some forms of indecision that you might recognize. So sometimes indecision is what's underneath it is a loss. You've lost the bigger picture purpose, or you're connecting to your why, like why you're doing your business in the first place, so that you can step into more and more your vision and your purpose and let that fuel you. And if you've lost touch with that, then it's hard to make decisions because you don't have that inner leadership and guidance of your purpose. You may be in a creative process. You just may be in a process of creating something, and you may not be to the point of decision yet. And you may be making small decisions in that process along the way. You may be stuck in stagnation or your comfort zone, and it feels paralyzing to do something different. So that your comfort zone is like where you feel, obviously where you feel comfortable. It's also like the known. So even if what you're at now was not comfortable before you started your business, it can maybe comfortable now. So letting go of that in order to make a new decision, take a risk, is something to be aware of, that choice. And we'll talk more about this here too. Feeding doubt. So yeah, just like your mind might be just harping on the doubt or the fears that are coming up around a decision. So just notice if that's the case sometimes. And this connected to being bogged down by fear from past experiences. Like when I tried that last time, this was what happened. but now we're in a different place. So consider that. And what did you learn from last time that can help you move forward, so you can learn from that and move forward in a new place, from a new place. Feeling stuck in an identity that prevents you from deciding. So James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, who I quote often, he talks about how identity oftentimes is a hindrance to change. So if you, for example, I used to identify as somebody who is not good at math and doesn't like numbers. And that made me not want to do numbers in my business, which led to filing bankruptcy many years ago. So, and some people like, oh, I'm not good at marketing, or I'm not good at sales. Those kind of things like can really limit you. And I encourage you to find your own take on those things and learn more about them from a place that you really resonate with, so that you can own those pieces of your business and not neglect them, if that's the case for you. Those are just two examples. And another one of that, going back to that decision about if I should make bread and butter work, or if I should make, the art I really want to make kind of thing. If either way, you could be stuck in either identity, and you don't have to choose, but just being aware of what you're identifying with or what you're resisting can really help you break free from it. Shitting on yourself. So trying to decide about something you really don't actually want. So if you're shitting on yourself and you're like, okay, I really don't want this, but I should do this, then that's not going to get you anywhere. Stuck in motion without acting, although you already made the decision. So if you are, so motion versus action is another concept James Clear talks about. So motion is like when you're trying to make a decision, you're doing research, you're doing the back end of things, and acting is when you're actually following through with it and doing it. So if you've already made a decision and you know what you're going to do, but you're not acting, ask yourself what you need to move forward. And then really, sometimes people are not really accepting of where they are in their business, and they want to be somewhere different. And so that can make people take uncalculated risk or unreasonable risk, especially financially. So really knowing and accepting and acknowledging where you are, so you can make a decision from this point where you are, and where you want to go, and not where you wish you were right now. Okay. So there's no such thing as a right or wrong choice. There are just experiences you're creating, and consequences and results that are possible from each thing you do. And you always have two choices: do the same thing, do something different, no matter what is happening for you. This is a Caroline Myss quote. It doesn't matter what you choose. What matters is the energy with which you choose it. So what intention are you putting into it? And if you choose from fear, you may create more fear so you can face it. So it's like with the intention, you're planting a seed. That's like the seed of the intention of the action is there in the action, the decision that you're making. So just really being intentional about that can be really powerful. When people sign up for private coaching with me, I suggest that they remember why they're choosing it and giving it to themselves, and to put that intention to everything that they start with, sign the contract, sending the money, like everything, scheduling, like really infusing everything they're doing in that relationship, in that container for them, into, putting that intention into everything that they're doing. And some decisions and choices, okay, great. So some decisions and choices that I made were self-fulfilling prophecy or evidence to support beliefs I've had. So if I choose from fear or past identity, I might create those things again unnecessarily. It's a sort of a form of self-sabotage in some ways, you could say. And Mary Morrissey says, you can't get to your dream, you must come from it. So again, this is like, coming from where you want to go. And we'll talk more about that too. All right. in making a decision, really asking yourself why you're considering it. Why are you considering this decision? So if you want to think about a decision, we're going to start playing with some more interactive stuff here, or not interactive because this is a recording, but I'm going to have you do some writing. So if you already think of something you want to decide something about, then you can go ahead and start considering that exact question. So why are you considering it? What's your intention in making it? Why are you moving toward making the decision? And sometimes I ask the similar questions in different ways, just because for people it sometimes helps them get in a different way. Why now? So why now? Why is this decision relevant now? Why is it important now? Is there a window of opportunity? Is there something that's changed and you have to make a decision because you need to go in a different direction? So why now? If you're not acting from fear, where are you coming from? So again, it's that intention piece. Where are you coming from? And then do you have clarity on as much as you can from where you are now? Do you have everything you need that as far as you can acknowledge and gain at this point from where you are now? And make sure that you're not overcompensating out of resentment or shitting on yourself to make it happen or stretching too far. So this is something I used to do when I was going into debt and unintentionally many years ago. I would be so resentful that I wasn't somewhere different, that I would make decisions because I should be there. So I just make decisions based on an unfounded risk that wasn't actually intentional or from a place of creation. It was a place of resentment. So if you're shitting on yourself, notice that and let yourself be where you are fully. And then, is this decision aligned with your values? Do you feel like this is something that is moving you closer to your values and what's important to you and your business, and your business values? Or is it another should, like because if somebody else is doing it or something, or told you it's the way to do something, but you don't feel like it's good for you? So is it aligned with your values? And sometimes if it doesn't feel aligned, there may be ways to tweak it so it can be aligned. Okay, so here is the decision-making wheel. So here are some aspects, some things different ways that people step into the decision-making process. So gathering facts, brainstorming, and brainstorming can be by yourself on a piece of paper or something, or with other people. Pros and cons, really evaluating pros and cons. There's pros and cons to every decision. There's no perfect answer to anything. Decide. Once you decide, then you can follow through and define and clarify. So that's the decision-making process from one perspective. And just notice if there's any of those pieces that you are sort of missing in your own process that you could do more of. Is it actually deciding? Is it looking at the pros and cons thoroughly? Is it gathering facts or researching? Or is it defining and clarifying at the end of the process what it is and how it's going to work? Here's a Seth Godin quote: "The art of good decision making is looking forward to and celebrating the trade-offs, not pretending they don't exist." So again, it's speaking to the cons there. So there's always a trade-off. There's always some cons to any decision. There's no perfect thing. And if it seems perfect, then dive deeper. So consider the ideal situation or possibility versus real implications. Face all the aspects and considerations. Fill your gut, ask questions, do the pros and cons list, do the numbers, do the numbers, do the numbers, do research, and weigh your priorities. And doing the numbers is tricky sometimes because you don't have you don't know the numbers necessarily. You're just making stuff up as possibilities. You know, you're like sort of say, okay, if this happened this way, then that's what would happen. But like playing with the numbers, so I'll say that playing with the numbers and possibility and projecting into the future based on your decision you're considering is a very helpful thing, because it helps you see possibility, helps you see risk, it helps you see what the balance of what you're choosing there. And we'll talk more about risk too. So this is something that people who've taken this workshop before really love that we're about to show you, because I think it's really helpful for entrepreneurs. So as an entrepreneur, you wear a lot of hats. And if you're a solopreneur and you don't have employees and a team of people, then it's really important for you to consider from all the angles, you know, not just the visionary piece. So, and if you have a team of people, we're going to speak to those roles as well. Oh, hang on a second. There we go. Okay, so evaluate and consider different scenarios in the decision. So if you're weighing a decision, think about it from the perspective, and I'm going to give you an exercise for this. I'm just going to introduce it right now. The visionary entrepreneur, the inner visionary entrepreneur that you have, the administrative perspective, the practical side, employee, like how does it impact the employee's pay, the employee's role, CFO, the financial piece, like how do you see it from that perspective? From a customer service perspective, from the creative side, as a creator of your business or your work, depending on your work, long-term and short-term perspective. That's a huge one. And calculated risk around that. Your target market, your clients and customers. So and I'm distinguishing between those because your target market is like your ideal customer, and your client customer might be a different category that's not so ideal, but they're still there, you know. So I'm going to give you some example questions and break for each of these roles. So if you have a pen and paper now or something you can write with, then consider answering these questions for any decision you're actually considering at this moment. So from the visionary entrepreneur perspective, is this decision moving me toward my vision? So is this decision moving me toward my vision? So do you feel like the stepping into this one decision is helping you move forward? Administrative, so the practical logistical side. Are we ready to support this decision on the ground? Do you have what you need in place, like systems, for example, that would support that decision? And if not, what would you need to have in place to fulfill it? And this is something to also consider about the timing. You know, if you're going to go one step further with this, what kind of plan or a trajectory of time would you need to have to actually get ready for to implement this decision? So how are the various employee roles impacted? And if you're a solopreneur, then that may not be relevant as much, but you are the employee of your business. So, you know, you play different roles. So how would it affect, you know, the admin piece and the, you know, the hours, like all the different factors that are included in there? How does it impact those? And what would you need to make it work? From the chief financial officer perspective, what is the short and long-term financial impact and or potential range of financial impacts? So that's a big one. So I'll just give you a second to integrate these and jot down any notes that you think of. Okay. From a customer service perspective, how can you optimize the potential impact of this decision on your customers? So how will it impact them? And in what ways that you may not just think off the top of your head, will it impact them? And how will they feel about it? Because people don't like change oftentimes, but sometimes people do like change because it benefits them. So you got to be aware of that impact. How does this decision impact your creativity in your business? So, how do you feel about what you're creating and what's next? And does it give you energy? And that's connected to this one too. So personally, how does this decision impact your energy level around it, around your business, your perspective of your business, relationships in and out of your business, if relevant, and your stress level? So I'll pause there to just give you a minute to, if any of these resonate or if anything stands out, go ahead and write some notes down. And then long-term versus short-term. What are the short-term and long-term implications and risks? So think about short-term first, and what are the immediate things that are going to be influenced by the decision? And then long-term, what are the long-term implications and long-term risks and possibilities that are connected to this decision? And this distinction is really important because if you, a lot of times people are making decisions from the short term and they don't consider the long term. And that's really important. And it connects back to customer service as well. And even a lot of things actually, because it can even affect your energy, your stress level. If it's something that's going to be more labor intensive for you, then it could impact you energetically because you may have more burnout. So that's not a risk you want to take necessarily. And if you do take that risk, you got to figure out how to do that without the burnout. Okay. In what ways could this specific decision impact your ideal target market? So thinking about your ideal customer, the person that you really want more customers like that person, how would it impact them? And you can even think about short-term and long-term again. Okay, so all of this takes a lot of courage. Anytime you're stepping outside your comfort zone, it takes courage to move forward because you're taking risk. The relationship between commitment and doubt is by no means an antagonistic one. Commitment is healthiest when it's not without doubt, but in spite of doubt. So in making a decision, it means that you don't have to have no doubts. It means, you weigh everything and you make a conscious decision with intention, moving forward, with a connection to your vision, what you want to create, even though you may have some doubts. Maya Angelou said, one isn't necessarily born with courage, but one is born with potential. Without courage, we cannot practice any other virtue with consistency. We can't be kind, true, merciful, generous, or honest. That's how important courage is. And it's a practice in courage. It's an act of courage to make a decision and to take a risk in your business and in your life. And it's also a risk, maybe with less courage, to not take the risk. Because that's all, sorry, it's also a risk to not take a risk, basically, is what I'm trying to say there. And Michelle Obama said, the only way you succeed in life is by failing and failing well. So again, it's like, if it doesn't lead you to your outcome that you wanted to create, it may lead you to some really valuable lessons that are important for your next steps. And could lead you to things you didn't even see coming in ways you couldn't have perceived that are really beneficial for you and your business and the world. Okay. So what level of risk are you comfortable with and where are you at? So risk, one way to look at risk is reach inside, source your own knowing. So trusting yourself. So the knowledge that you can handle anything comes your way is the key to allowing yourself to take risks. Security is not having things, it's handling things. And when you want more confidence in taking risk, you have to take a risk to get that confidence. It doesn't come without taking the risk. It doesn't just happen before you take the steps. And a lot of times people are concerned about what others will think. And you get to quote Dr. Seuss, be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. So that's really saying that those who are important to you will support you, and those who don't matter to you as much, they get to have their opinion, but it doesn't matter as much. Okay. So when thinking about risk, here is a perspective on risk. So when you're making a decision, you identify the risks, you assess them, and that's a good place to break down the short-term and long-term risks. You determine your own risk appetite, like how much of an appetite do you have to take risk at this point in your business, whether it's financially or energetically or whatever, time-wise, whatever. You develop response plans to the risk. So if something you're risking happens, then you have a plan in place to deal with it. If it doesn't go the way you hoped, but it goes a different way, you can put that in place before you even move forward. And then you complete the response plan. So you develop it, complete it, and then monitor and reassess. So monitoring the risk level. So looking at your numbers, for example, and saying, okay, we changed this thing. What does it look like now in our numbers? We added this thing at the front of our register in our store, and are people buying it or not? For example, or we put the sign out. Is it bringing people in? Are we having more foot traffic? There's so many different examples I can share here, but really looking at so identifying risks, assessing them, determining your own risk appetite, developing a response plan for the risk, and completing that response plan. So you have a solid thing in place. Depending on how it goes, you have something in place to implement to counteract it. And then monitoring and reassessing it as you evolve your decision and the evolution of what you're creating. So you've probably heard this quote, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is only one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never have otherwise occurred. A whole stream of events and issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no one could have dreamt would have come their way. I have learned deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So this is really speaking to the idea that commitment and going for it put something into motion that supports what you're creating. And that again has to do with intention too. Okay. Also, you can commit to creating the essence of what you want even before you know what it looks like. So if you know that your business needs to have a change and you feel like, okay, I don't know what this looks like, but I know I want to feel less burnout and more ease. Okay. So that's something that just moving toward ease. So that's an intention that you want to create more ease. And and that may be because you have a lot of burnout and you really want to feel like you can sustain your business and thrive in it and thrive in your life and not result in burnout in your business. So I had a client who had a service-based practice who wanted to do this. She was burnt out. I've had few clients like this. And so it meant creating leverage in their businesses. It meant changing what they're offering in different ways. It might mean hiring somebody. It might mean stepping back from a certain role and having somebody else do something. It might mean creating like a specific kind of leverage that's not so time for money for what you're offering and creating. So that's an example that there can be an intention to create more ease, and you may not know what it looks like yet, but you know what it doesn't look like because you know it doesn't look like burnout. So then as you're making a decision or stepping into commitment or towards something, what is a deeper reason you're making the decision? So if you feel like you have burnout, then what is, do you want to have more vitality in your life and health? That's a big priority. So that's a good reason. What is the feeling of the outcome you want? Is it ease? But without losing the impact of your business on others in the world and helping them, and also on financially for you, and maybe even ways to make more money. What exactly are you committed to? So asking yourself, okay, what am I committed to? Because you're committed to what you have now, what you're creating, right? So what are you committed to that you want to evolve or move toward? That's also a decision. You can have that intention into what you're creating. And then whatever you're choosing, whether you're committing to, why are you choosing it? And if you're unclear, you can always commit to persistence. So Maya Angelou says, we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. So keeping on going and moving forward is a commitment as well. Persistence is a commitment. Okay. You'll never know everything you would need to know to make the perfect choice. A lot of times, even the CEO only has about 10% of the info needed to make a good decision. This is Sophia Amoroso, who has created, really big success in business. So that's a big deal. I read this and I was like, oh my God, 10% is such a small amount of information to have. So knowing, I think this really helps you know that you're not alone, and really acknowledging that there are unknown factors in your future, no matter what you decide. So knowing that is like, you can't know everything and you can't predict the future, and you can't control outcomes either. So you're taking a risk. And then there are secret opportunities hidden inside every failure. So really acknowledging that, no matter what happens externally, that there are opportunities that will arise. And the one choice you can always start with is really to start from where you are. Whatever the present moment contains, act as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. So that's like asking the question, how is this working for me? Instead of how is it hindering me or working against me? So how are the current circumstances working for you? What opportunity is arising to learn something, to tweak something, to evolve something, to make a choice from where you are right now? Because, a lot of times, again, I was saying before, like people get to shooting on themselves. And, you being here now and letting yourself be where you are financially, business wise, growth wise, burnout wise, or whatever, you get to act from that place, and starting where you are helps you understand where you are on the map to move forward in the direction that you want to go in. GPS can't tell you how to get somewhere if it doesn't know where you are. Okay, so here's a little brief visualization. And this graphic is not ideal, but it helps illustrate what I'm about to share with you. So stepping into a decision with support. So thinking about your mentors. So who has inspired you? Who have you looked up to? Who has supported you in really important ways in your life? And this can be teachers, mentors, colleagues, anybody who's really inspired you. It can even be famous people. It can be people dead or alive. There's people who really inspire you. And imagine them behind you. Imagine that support from those people behind you, helping you make a decision to move forward. And now think about in front of you, all the people you've already impacted their lives. So think about the people behind you who have supported you. Think about the people in front of you who you have supported, helped, contributed to in some way. So think about that. So you have the people who have supported you and the people who you have given to in some form, and just how connected you are to all of that impact. As entrepreneurs, it's really easy to feel alone and to feel like we're doing it all ourselves. And so this visualization really helps you feel connected as you can be and can feel, to the impact you're making and people who have supported you. So imagine, and you can even ask the question too, like imagine if you're moving forward with this decision you're trying to make, then what kind of impact will it have? Like imagining who will be impacted by this? What does that look like? And this is something that I can encourage you to journal about, to jot down the people that come to mind when I ask this question about who are your mentors, who are your supporters, and who have you impacted that really moved you, that you would like to have more impact on. It may be that you have impacted a nonprofit by donating money, so you want to do more of that. It may be that you have a mentoree or a customer who really appreciates what you're doing. So, just really considering that and connecting decisions you make and what you're doing to the impact that is there. This quote is also helpful. I stop asking for advice and pretending I don't know what to do. I do know what to do, just never more than one moment at a time. I stop explaining myself because I learned that making decisions is never about doing the right thing or the wrong thing. It's about doing the precise thing. The precise thing is always incredibly personal and often makes no sense to anyone else. Sometimes that's true, especially in entrepreneurship. So, we have gone over a lot of pieces here, and I'll just do a brief review. So why decision making is important. What do you know about yourself as a decision maker? What you need to make a decision: opportunity, desire, ability, and time. And before making a decision, is it actually a choice you have, need, or want to make? Are you at the choice point now? And sometimes you don't have to choose. So really acknowledging is if it's a choice you need to make, or can you do both? And what does that look like? And is it time? Forms of indecision. So noticing if you're in indecision, what that looks like, and are you shooting on yourself? Are you stuck in an identity? Are you in your comfort zone? really putting your intention into your decision making. And in the decision making process, making sure that you're honoring all sides of the decision, literally facing the real and the ideal implications of the decision. And then looking at the decision from a lot of different perspectives of, looking at from different aspects of your business and different roles in your business and how the decision will impact all those. And coming from courage, really letting yourself step into the decision-making process and the risk, and that making a choice either way takes courage. Trusting yourself and letting go of what others will think just for that sake of it. If you're taking a risk, when you take a risk, make sure you have a response plan to the possible things that may result. Commitment, the power of commitment, and what it gives you as you step into it. Being imperfect about your decisions and knowing that there's not anybody who knows 100% of everything all the time when they're making decisions, about the future, especially. Letting yourself be where you are and choose this moment to step forward into the direction you want to move in, working with what you've got, and connecting to both the support you have had in your life and also the impact that you've made and supporting you to move into that further. Thank you so much for listening to this, and I hope this supports you in making decisions for the rest of your business career. And feel free to look at this anytime and to keep the slides so that you can track the different elements of this and give yourself support for the process of making a decision. And you can also share this with your team as well if that's helpful to you. I'm Jen Aly, and take care.